Mr. Somasundaram, Dr. Sahai, and his colleagues, your colleagues from the IGPC, researchers and senior professors who are coming here to make presentations, members of the industry, and other participants in this workshop. First of all, I would like to congratulate IGPC and the World Gout Council and the other sponsors of this event for having organized this very now regular conference on getting beneath the bonnet of the gold industry and trying and find out what works and what doesn't work. And so it's absolutely a very important piece of work in terms of for the industry, as Mr. Somasundaram pointed out, for policymakers and for consumers at large. I think because many of them also would be interested in what happens in the gold industry. So I would feel that this conference should have, as Mr. Somasundaram pointed out, more policymakers also join various sessions. In fact, every session should have the relevant policymakers, bankers, and I'm sure that I see a lot of them here. But nevertheless, I think the wideness of the participation of all members of the ecosystem would actually enrich the quality of research as well as the outcomes of the research in terms of the benefits to the industry and society at large. So I'm sure that the excellent points made put forth by Mr. Somasundaram will definitely be taken up by IGPC in due course. I also would feel, I just would like to add my thoughts to it as well. One of the important points regarding research is that the outputs have to be marketed, essentially, because essentially, the persons who need to hear this must hear it, obviously, so that they take the informed decisions when it comes to it, whether it be it industry or policymakers or bankers or any member of the ecosystem. I'm sure that the marketing of research, I think research outputs should definitely be taken up on a very important scale. And as rightly pointed out, Mr. Somasundaram, I guess research can be better directed. In fact, I think a lot of very good. In fact, I would say that I must thank IGPC for some of the excellent papers which relate to the gold exchange and the international exchange and many other aspects of the industry where India doesn't have much of experience, which actually helped us in framing the policy. A lot of inputs have been taken from them. But nevertheless, I am sure that you can still even do better. So getting probably the industry players on your board may actually help. I think getting them on your board in advising you on what are the questions that they themselves are searching for answers would definitely help you to probably come out with research which is probably used widely. Now, coming to the issue of gold, the gold industry, it's a very important industry for India, I think, because it employs, as per estimates, over 25 lakh or 2.5 million people. And the contribution to the GDP is quite significant, with almost like 1.5% of the GDP contributed by this industry. So essentially, this is a very, very important industry from the perspective of job creation, from the perspective of, say, the number of consumers who are a part of this gold market, and so on and so forth. So the industry also has got a great importance in terms of the forex earnings for India, because though it does import a lot of gold and a lot of diamonds, it does export a lot back as well. So this is very important from India's perspective, and I would strongly feel that some of the research that needs to be directed on how India can increase its exports. This is something which is very important. I'm sure from the industry perspective, it will have a lot of advisory value. What areas of the exports are doing well and what they are not doing well, and what are the special inputs that need to go into the export industry to enable them to perform better, and so on and so forth. Because essentially, though consumption of gold in India is overarchingly large, I think the export aspect of gold is what I think the government is very keen to support and facilitate. So though the consumption by itself is something which we don't want to facilitate, I think let's be open about it. It is but an instrument of hedging by a common man. I think every one of us tries to diversify our investment portfolio, and gold happens to be one of them. So though there is nothing that needs to be encouraged about it, it's but a natural tendency to diversify your portfolio and hold it in gold and real estate and so on and so forth. But nevertheless, if you look at the household savings, I mean, the household savings is a well-researched topic. In fact, there was a recent report by Dr. Tarun Ramadurai, which was commissioned by the Reserve Bank of India, which points to say that about 11% of the household savings is held in the form of gold, which is quite significant. So, though of course, I mean, there is empirical evidence that probably the new gen may not be really up to it. I mean, I think the younger generation, the propensity to save in gold is probably coming down. So if you look at the trajectory of household savings and its components, we find that the savings or the investment in the form of say capital market instruments, I mean, in terms of equity, in terms of debt instruments, is increasing. And I think which is a very good sign, because it follows the a little more, what do you say, economically beneficial trajectory. So I think these are some of the changes that are happening here, which probably we should like to keep note of. So essentially, what I'm trying to say is that the consumption of gold as such by the younger generation may be coming down, and therefore, whether it is coming down, the researchers, it's for you to tell whether that is a correct statement, or whether this is a correct, whether it is held true with significance. Something which I think probably some of your research could throw some light on. Now, in terms of say the direction that the industry has to take, I think we are very keen that exports should focus on what the world wants. I mean, essentially, because India is very good in its ethnic kind of manufacture. We have our own designs which are traditional in nature, but while it holds a lot of attraction for the local consumers, for the international consumers, I think they have a different kind of a taste and design, and preferences. So I'm sure that the part of the industry has actually moved forward by probably collaborating with the West, with international design houses in Italy and many other places. And I see here some of from the colleagues from the UK and others who are also working on that. So we have 100% FDI allowed in the automatic route. So I feel that the industry should move forward in terms of, say, bringing in collaborations and in terms of technology, in terms of design, and so on and so forth, to enable the outputs, the products to be sold well in the international market, recognized well in the international market. So essentially, I guess the future lies in kind of moving, identifying what the global preferences are, and ensuring that our own capacities are built to meet those changing requirements. So essentially, what we feel that the value addition which is required, in terms of the quality of the designs, the quality of the gold, the quality of the product, and the innovations that go into it are very, very important in a world which values novelty and innovation. Another aspect of the industry which is very, very important is that unfortunately the gold industry has been associated with a number of unethical practices. This is something which is probably the aspect which actually weighs down the gold industry. I think so. It has been associated, unfortunately, with money laundering, with the black economy, and so on and so forth. This black mark must go away. I think if the industry wants to see itself in the 21st or the 22nd century, then I'm sure that it needs to wash itself off from this label that goes along with this industry. So it's a very difficult task, given that the number of players are quite large in number, and even a couple of players could actually tar the entire industry. So I'm not going to say that the entire industry is like that. There are a large portion of the industry, especially the large established groups, which probably have set standards. But nevertheless, how do we take these standards forward to the rest of the industry and ensure that both the ethical practices and the compliances are of the highest order, is something that all of us need to brainstorm. And maybe this is also a research topic on how government should incentivize the gold industry to change color to being extremely compliant and aligned with global best practices. So because I also sit on the Exim Bank board, unfortunately, gold and gems and jewelries sector sector is not exactly on the welcome list, for credit and lending. And so many other banks have done so. One Nirav Modi has actually, it's not necessarily one Nirav Modi. I mean, there are several others who also probably have contributed to this mess. So I guess a lot needs to be done to clean up this industry. I mean, I think this is very, very important. I think we need to recognize that, and probably we need policy inputs on what can the government do to support or facilitate this cleanup happen faster and more effectively. This a very challenging task. I mean, I should say that. Now, if you look at the gold policy of the government of India, I think we have had significant shifts, and we have had since 2015. I think 2-3 very important policy instruments were launched. One being the gold monetization scheme, and the other being the sovereign gold bonds, and third being the India gold coins. These are some of the things that the government did. As part of its small initiatives. I wouldn't say. A lot more needs to be done, but nevertheless, something was done. So if you look at the gold monetization scheme, essentially it was meant to take out those the gold deposits inside cupboards, I think, and lockers, and bring them to the market for enabling the economy to benefit from this wealth. So I would say that it has done better than probably its parent, the gold deposit scheme of 1999, which garnered about 2 tons of gold over, say, maybe about 16 years or 17 years since its existence. But this scheme since 2015, maybe effectively about 4 years. I think we have garnered about 20.7 tons of gold so far. So which I would say is better than before, but certainly not to our expectations. We should have done better. So there are a lot more tweaks that are required to this particular scheme, and we hope to do that in the succeeding months. And we believe that the scheme should actually be redirected in a manner that actually supports recycling of gold within the system. Essentially, the idea is that to minimize our imports, effectively, because gold has a significant effect on the current account deficit. So being a very gold is the next oil, I think, or would have become the next oil, I think, perhaps, if we do not curb its consumption. So with roughly about $35 billion worth of imports every year, of course, a part of it goes out as exports, but nevertheless, I think it's a concern. I think has been a point of concern in the several times in the recent past. So we would be very keen to actually support the financialization of gold, the circulation of gold within the system, and not being locked up in lockers. So so we have drafted a policy, and the policy is under an advanced stage of discussions, and we hope that some progress could be made. Recently, the government also announced, as part of its intent to set up a gold spot exchange in the International Financial Services Center in the Special Economic Zone, to support a significant amount of trading to shift within the country. So that there's a robust price discovery mechanism for the market to be guided with. So we feel that this policy will further will move further in this year, and we all hope to get your support for the same. We also have a sovereign gold bond scheme, which so far has garnered around something close to 30 tons of gold equivalent of investment, which is quite significant. So there are regular monthly issues, and we believe that this scheme also requires significant improvement, and we look forward to inputs from the World Gold Council and the IGPC to enable us to further improve the scheme so as to achieve its original objectives. The government policy also needs to focus on issues like production of gold within the country. Having a very large gold consumption market here requires us to also focus on how we can ramp up domestic production. We have a very, very measly internal sources of gold. So, we believe that the Niti Aayog is now working on a new gold mining policy, which I think will help the government to support much more higher levels of investment in the gold mining. We believe that there are gold deposits here, but for a very attractive exploration and mining policy, I think this would have happened long ago. So, unfortunately, mean, compared to China, which also has got a large consumption base, has incidentally a very large production volume too, I mean, I think, to support this consumption. So this is our weak point, and therefore we believe that a positive and a progressive mining policy, which might get considered in the near future, might be useful in enabling us to handle this issue of the current account deficit. We are also very happy that the industry has moved forward in terms of using a number of innovations. Like I hear about blockchain technology. There are some fintechs like Rupeek which have launched jewel loan products in the online space. So we believe that all these developments will deepen the gold markets in India and create a much more robust dynamic market, which will enable this industry to go to its next level to meet the requirements of next gen India. I would end by thanking the IGPC for its survey. I mean, I think the launch, which has been launched recently. I mean, so this is an excellent initiative. We believe that this will have tremendous value for policymakers like us to get guided with, and I'm sure that the outcomes are much awaited, and we hope that we will regularly support you and facilitate you in this as part of this exercise, and we would believe that the outcomes should help not only us but the industry and the other large investors in gold. I would end by saying that this conference I look forward to the research outputs which would get generated over the next couple of days, which will get presented over the next couple of days. And we look forward to using them in further improving our policies. So with these few words, I would thank all of you and congratulate IGPC once again for its excellent effort. Thank you very much.